Hey everybody, happy holidays, happy new year, and it's been a really fun 2017 for me. I reached my first 100 subscribers, which I'm very happy about, and I wanted to share a little bit of look back for 2017 for me in terms of some of my photography. I actually started doing photography long before I started playing around with video, and so I wanted to share some of the pictures throughout the year, and a lot of them have to do with some of the videos that I put up on YouTube over the year too. So maybe if you're a little newer to the channel, this will make you want to click back and check out some of my previous adventures. Either way, I'm looking forward to 2018 and some great things to come. So enjoy! The first two shots came from New Year's Day 2017. Went out paddling, and of course mangroves are some of the coolest trees to photograph. On this one I got literally right up under the mangroves and shot to the blue sky. And mangroves, of course, are known for having birds on them, and this was no different. This tricolor hung out on the top of this mangrove for quite a long time, allowing me to take some good pictures. This next series of pictures are all from Blue Heron Bridge, one of my favorite places to hang out underwater. And this shot came from literally setting the camera down on the bottom as this sea star kind of crawled towards me. This also produced my first time-lapse situation on a video, so definitely check that out too. This is one of my favorite shots of the year, and it shows this little tiny juvenile porkfish picking parasites off a larger sheep's head. And it really shows that mutualistic relationship between two different species working together, and kind of makes you want to see that happen more in the human world. This lobster was hanging out in a cave with two openings, so I was able to get in one and get this nice little silhouette shot, which is kind of like lobsters hiding from the people before lobster season started. This octopus was not particularly happy with me as it was defending its hole, but it allowed me to get a really nice cool close-up shot, and the orange siphon is just really awesome to me. It's really rare to get a fish to stay still enough to get this shot, especially a flounder like this, and I really like the color I was able to bring out in this particular picture. This flying Gurnard also worked with me both in picture and video form. I hung around with him for a good 15 minutes or so before he finally got tired of me and left. This frogfish shows you just how good camouflage can be. I got kind of two different angles on him. Sometimes it's really cool to focus on the lesser known things, and these little tunicates are great because they're just so orange and colorful, and they're actually our closest invertebrate relatives, which is kind of a story for another time. This is a little sharp-tailed snake eel, and they're so cool. I used to take care of them in an aquarium I used to work at, but to find them out there in the wild, and this one is a pretty small one, and he was going after food for a really long time. We got to watch the little behavior, and finally got a shot of him looking at us. This is a mangrove salt marsh snake, and I got this really cool picture because of Dr. Chesness, who works at Palm Beach Atlantic University. We were doing a program together, and he brought one of his snakes. He's actually doing a lot of research on these just because they're so rare now in the wild, and I was able to get a really nice close-up shot of it. So I usually don't show pictures of my students, but I think I can get away with this one. We were up at the Kissimmee River at the FAU Field Lab for an overnight, and the kids were running around the tree with their lights, and I had a really long exposure, and I came up with this really cool shot, so there you go. This was taken up at Crystal River, Florida, and this mama manatee and calf hung out around us for quite a while, and we were able to just sit there and watch them interact and rest in this very tranquil setting. Very cool experience. And speaking of families, here's a nest of great blue herons, and this was up at Homosassa Springs, Florida. In April, got to go to a Chinese Lantern Festival, which was really awesome, and this is one of the shots that I got of this cheetah, and they just had all sorts of animals, and right up my alley. Very, very cool. The next few shots came from Looe Key Reef down in the Keys, and this one is of course some four-eyed butterfly fish hanging out on top of some coral. This is the aptly named rainbow parrot, and they are not particularly easy to get to actually frame up right, but this one happened to come in my frame right at the right time. These Christmas tree worms always provide color, and they can be a little bit fun because they like to pop in as soon as you get close to them, and then you don't see their little headdresses anymore. But these actually three stayed out for me long enough for me to get a picture. Elkhorn is some of my favorite coral, and the blue tang fish, which you can see there, is one of my favorite fish. So this was a great little combo shot for me. Now for something completely different. This is Trafalgar Square in London, and I got the chance to take a group of students on a London-Paris tour this summer, which is not so natural, but I still managed to find a few kind of natural referencey things during the trip. And this lion statue kind of made me think like the Lion King up on Pride Rock. Of course, I'm not really a big city sort of person, but I really did enjoy London, and I definitely recommend it. And I really like the shot of kind of the dusk evening sky with Big Ben in the London Eye. Of course, how can you go to Paris and not visit the Eiffel Tower? And so here's a nice little shot of it from right at the base. And of course, you can't go to a city without checking out their gardens. And this is Luxembourg Gardens in Paris. And we actually spent the morning there drawing on sketch pads, which was really fun. We also visited Père Lachaise Cemetery and got to see the graves of people like Chopin and Oscar Wilde. This is a picture from the grave of Vivat Denon. And if you've ever been to the Louvre Art Gallery, the Denon Wing, he's a pretty big figure. He was actually an archaeologist as well. Then I'm back to one of my favorite national parks, Smoky Mountain National Park. I love chasing after waterfalls, and this one actually wasn't the main feature. It was just a really nice little cascade below the waterfall I was actually going after. So this was actually the featured waterfall on that trail. It was Grotto Falls, and it was really cool because you could actually walk behind it, and that's where I took this picture from. Here's another little unknown cascade that I really liked. And the last one here is Laurel Falls, which I had never been to as well, and it's not a bad little trail and just really cool to sit right under the waterfall. Now it's time to go back to Florida. This is a shot from MacArthur Beach State Park, another one of my favorite locations in Palm Beach County, and it was too rough that day for really too good of snorkeling, but I played around with the water coming over the worm rock, and I really liked this freeze frame. And on that same day, I got to play around with this little ghost crab. Of course, after traveling all summer, one of the first things I want to do is go back underwater, and we got to shore dive at the Eurojacks down in Fort Lauderdale, and this really cool group of classy sweepers was hanging around the jacks. On the same dive, I got one of my other favorite pictures of the year, and this is this whole group of little balloonfish hanging out in the Gorgonian. And we can't really underestimate the importance to coral here in Florida, to the natural system, and also to the economy and the tourist industry. We went through a lot of coral bleaching events this year, and this is a nice healthy piece of star coral that I found, so very happy to take that picture. This was literally the last shot I took of a dive when I was about out of air. It was of this arrow crab hanging out in a sponge, and I really loved the color and the composition of it. Of course, after Hurricane Irma came through, we had a really long stretch of very rough water, and one of the best places to go to enjoy the rough water is Blowing Rocks Preserve, and the name pretty much is self-explanatory. And yes, I got really wet after each of these pictures. As we worked our way into fall, we got a chance to go out to several different natural areas, and I love, of course, taking flower pictures, and here's a couple of them that I really liked. And to end off on, one last trip down to the Keys post Irma to check on the reefs, and this is one of my favorite shots, just a nice little reefscape. And although I documented a lot of damage on the reef from the storms, this was a really cool big old stand of elkhorn coral that just made me very happy. And once again, just as I was heading up to the boat after the dive, this green moray popped up and I got to interact with them a little bit and take some pictures. Very cool. I'm going to leave you with the sunset in the Keys just about a week before New Year's. It was a great 2017. Thanks for joining in the adventure, and I can't wait for 2018. Happy New Year!